Welcome, everyone, to the Healthy School Food Summit, brought to you by the Coalition for Healthy School Food and PlantPure. I'm your host, Ron Gandiza. In this session, we are honored to have with us Nelson Campbell, the CEO of PlantPure. Nelson Campbell founded PlantPure Inc. and its nonprofit arm, PlantPure Communities, to lead a grassroots movement to promote the health benefits of plant-based nutrition. Prior to the founding of the PlantPure organization, Nelson graduated from Cornell University with a Bachelors Degree in Political Science and a Master's Degree in Economics. And then he worked for 25 years as a socially conscious business entrepreneur. He also is the executive producer, director, and co-writer of the documentary film PlantPure Nation. This film examines the political and economic factors that suppress information about the benefits of plant-based nutrition and makes connections to public policy, medical practice, food deserts, and farming. So welcome, Nelson. Thank you so much for being part of the Healthy School Food Summit.
It's good to be here, Ron. It's an important issue.
I'd like to learn more about your story, about how you got involved and got started in the plant-based movement.
Well, of course, I've been living this for a long time. My father is Dr. Colin Campbell, who wrote the China study, and I guess most people know of him. So this goes back to really the 1970s and sitting around the dinner table listening to my father talk about his research. As you noted, I've been an entrepreneur for a number of years, but I had long had an idea for launching a business and an organization, including a nonprofit component, that could really help to get this message out to more of a mainstream demographic. So a few years ago, I jumped on that path and I started working toward that vision. And then an opportunity came along to make a movie. And so I basically took close to 3 years off of the trajectory that I was on to produce PlantPure Nation. And that was released in 2015. And the release went through almost the end of the year. And then in 2016 and up to the current time, we've been working on PlantPure, the business of PlantPure, and also we started a nonprofit called PlantPure Communities.
The film PlantPure Nation is now on it was released actually in 100 theaters.
Mm-hmm.
It's now on Netflix and Amazon and iTunes, and so it gets a lot of visibility. And it talks, as we say, the big question out there. It talks about that question of why haven't we heard more about the benefits of a whole food plant-based lifestyle. And I'm curious as to what has been the reaction from local communities in terms of kids, because as you know, this is the Healthy School Food Summit. And what have you heard out there as people come up to you, because you've been in cities across the country where I'm sure you come across teachers or parents who've talked about some of the issues with plant-based nutrition and their kids. Yes.
So this question about why haven't we heard this before is one that I've thought about a long time. And I remember the stories of my father going to Washington to try to make change through the government. He consulted with FDA and NIH, and he testified in front of Congress. And every time he did that, he'd come home and just extremely frustrated because he said that it was all about money and all about politics. And oftentimes he'd walk into a room and he could see each industry sitting at the table. And so finally he just gave up. And of course, that's when we encouraged him to write the China study, which became a landmark book. But this question continues to be a relevant one even to the current day. As exciting as it is to see the progress with the movement, there's still just a sliver of people in our society who know about this health message and the benefits of eating plant-based. And oftentimes when you introduce this concept to people, they're incredulous because they say, if this is so true, this is such a powerful idea, then how come I haven't heard this before? How come the government doesn't talk about this? How come my doctor doesn't talk about this? So this is still a very, very important question for us to answer today. And that really was the motivation behind the film. We show through a dramatic story involving the Kentucky legislature, why we haven't heard this before. And as I've gone around the country and talked to audiences who've seen the film, I've seen many, many interesting responses. But one of the things that I notice is that in answering that question, it is actually very effective for those people who are looking at this for the first time. I've had a lot of people come up to me after a showing who are new to the idea, or they were dragged to the theater or dragged to the event by someone in their family or a friend, and they see the film and the light bulb goes off and they go, oh my gosh, I could see how this could be true. The other thing that we get every single time we do a presentation is we get questions about schools. How do we bring this to our young people? How do we introduce this into school systems? And, historically, as we all know, the school lunch program has been controlled by the government, and it's still true today. The foods that we feed our kids are really dictated by the Ag Department, the USDA, which is really tasked with, above all else, protecting the very industries that have helped to contribute to our healthcare crisis. So it's a challenge, but that doesn't mean that we can't do things. We can't kind of work around the edges and create some new options for kids in schools. And I think it's a really, really important issue to figure out how we get this to young people.
What have you heard in terms of school systems that are trying to implement, even whether it's for the students or maybe even the employees?
Well, we actually just had a really interesting story that came from a school system in Indiana that has decided to use PlantPure's employer wellness program. So we have a program that involves, as you know, Ron, food and of course you've been a major driver of this. So I'm stating this for your audience, but food and education and our Jumpstart program, and it's very effective at introducing the idea to a work site and then supporting people who choose to live this lifestyle. But we have this school system in Indiana, and they recently did their first Jumpstart with a group of employees, and they had average reductions of their LDL cholesterol of about 20%. One person had a 500-point drop in their triglycerides. And then we've also had discussions recently with a large school system in Southwest Florida. They're doing some interesting things. They're actually using a program called CHIP, which is a plant-based educational program to introduce employees to a plant-based diet. And we'll probably be working with them in 2018. And I think that's kind of an interesting way at coming at this. School systems are under a lot of financial pressure. And so we have a solution that can save school systems millions of dollars. But what's interesting to me is not only the cost savings, but the idea of engaging the teachers and the staff and the kitchen staff and the bus drivers and everyone in the system in this idea. Because the very next thing that they're going to think about when they walk past the lunchroom and see what the kids are eating is, how do we get this to our kids here? And I think that's where you're going to see a lot of creative effort to work around the government mandated offering that's in our schools today, which, as I said before, is an offering that's really intended to support the economic interests of certain industries.
When we talk about creating healthier options for kids, we tend to think of serving the kids. You don't think about the teachers or the administrators of the school or the employees of the school system. You tend to think, well, how do we get the kids healthy? And as you said, there are controls in place that make that difficult, even though we're not necessarily saying replace the whole menu. We're saying add options for kids. We see that. But in this case, you're actually seeing school systems provide healthy training, if you will, training on healthier eating and providing options for them, the meals themselves, for instance, to the actual employees.
Yeah, I think actually we're going to find at some point when we look back on how all of this evolved, we're going to find that this is actually the most effective way at creating the support for the plant-based options that need to be provided to kids in school. Getting the employees engaged, the teachers and the administrators and all these people engaged in the idea of letting them experience these health benefits in their own personal lives. That's going to become the most powerful way of creating the support and the energy to come up with these solutions that benefit kids. And when you think about it, ultimately what we're doing is we're using the power of money to fight money. Because again, these a lot of school systems are under financial duress, just like a lot of healthcare systems are under financial duress right now. And we have a solution that can save school systems millions of dollars.
What do you mean in terms of a solution that provides some type of stability for schools?
Yeah, so the solution really is the wellness program that I had mentioned earlier that we've developed for employers. And it's a program that consists of a food offering, frozen entrees and meal starter products. It includes a Jumpstart program to introduce people to the diet, to teach them about the diet, to let them experience directly the health benefits of the diet. And we have also some additional education that we've developed so we can continue to touch people over an entire year. And then, of course, we can continue to provide the meals right to the work site or even to employee homes. So we make it easy for an organization to teach people about the benefits of a plant-based diet, to experience a plant-based diet, and to sustain their commitment to it. And what's wonderful about a work site is that people are connected. So when someone reverses their diabetes or they get off their Lipitor or whatever, a lot of other people are going to hear about it. And as more and more people in an organization do this, the peer dynamics shift in favor of people doing this. Right now, if you're eating plant-based, you feel like a lost soul when you go to work oftentimes. But we can reverse that dynamic through the kind of programming that we're talking about. And as soon as school systems and other employers understand how much money they can save, then we have the ability to kind of use money to fight money to drive this movement forward. When we've done our Jumpstarts in the past, as you know, Ron, I'd say about 80% or more of the people who go through the Jumpstart process and who comply have the option at the end to significantly reduce or even eliminate their medications. So the response is rapid and it's dramatic.
Now, talk about the Jumpstart, because people may not realize what a Jumpstart is. Can you define a Jumpstart?
Yeah, so the Jumpstart is a structured process where, and it can be for 10 to 21 days. We found that actually most people prefer a 10-day approach. 21 days can seem a little overwhelming. So it tends to be a 10-day approach. But we provide 28 days of education. So there's a warm-up week and then 21 days of Jumpstart education. So every day we send people emails with links to videos or Prezi presentations that give them nuggets of information. So it's education in small bites daily. And then, of course, as I mentioned, we have the food. So the idea is that they use the frozen entrees, meal starters, and we even have do-it-your-own recipes in two wonderful cookbooks that we have, PlantPure Nation cookbook and PlantPure Kitchen, the PlantPure Kitchen cookbook. And so people can use any of those options or a combination of all three to support themselves through that 10-day process. We also encourage people, especially at work sites, we encourage the employer to provide the option for biometric testing so people can take a look at their cholesterol pre and post to see how it changes. Because again, the changes are oftentimes dramatic.
Within those 10 days?
Within the 10 days, yeah. So that's basically it. It's not a complicated program, but it's very effective. You give people a little education, and then you give them great tasting food, and then just let them experience the benefits and see the benefits through biometric testing.
When people go through this program, as little as 10 days, as you say, that because it's so rapid, technically speaking, and I can see how any employee going through this program would be very excited to share it with their coworkers. But in a school setting where teachers are always talking to each other, and of course they're in front of their students who are going to see this change, that they become a role model for the students. And if there's a more focused effort, if you will, to showcase the teachers and their improvement, that maybe we can use that as a way, and we can structure that in a way that it makes it part of the program, how teachers can demonstrate to students what healthy eating can do for them. That it doesn't take a year or 2 years, 3 years to see improvement, that even in as little as 10 days, you can see an improvement, let alone 21 or 30 days or 6 months of eating in this lifestyle. But maybe we can build something like that allows teachers to showcase this power.
I agree, Ron. There's no greater power than the power of example. The power of force is always transitory and it never endures, but the power of example can inspire change that lasts forever, or at least a long time. And so it's a great, it's real power. And the teachers modeling for the students can be very effective. But also, and this is why I get so excited about this idea within the context of a school, is the employees of a school system, they're also connected to each other as in any work site. So when you see a teacher experiencing this and sort of modeling it and modeling the benefits of a plant-based diet, it just ripples through the organization very quickly. And in a school system is also a node for the community itself. It's a concentrated form of kind of connection within the overall community. So all of a sudden now, parents are hearing about it, and other people in the community are hearing about it. And so it very quickly ripples out. And this is why I think we're going to look back with hindsight, and we're going to realize that this is how we cracked the problem with the nutrition in public schools, is through this kind of an approach. Again, if we can get the entire staff involved and we can get parents interested, now all of a sudden you've got this critical mass of people who are saying, every time they walk by that lunchroom, how are we going to get this to our kids? And people are going to come up with solutions to kind of work around the obstacles that we have today. And it's very important, too, that as this is happening, that we share these success stories. So this is something else that we want to do, as you know, at PlantPure, is when we see successful strategies, anywhere, but certainly within school systems, we're going to share it with all the other school systems that we're working with. This is very important to bottom-up change. It's this idea of creating a collective mind, creating this massive cycle of social invention and social learning. And again, that's real power. That's far more powerful than top-down governmental power, which is really the power of force. That kind of bottom-up collective mind, engaging everyone, learning from one another, modeling for one another, that's real power. That's how you make change.
And as you said, the school systems themselves become part of that power base, that, if you will, I almost say the earthquake that creates that tsunami, and as you know, yes, that ripples through, because it is such an integral part of the community school systems.
Yes.
Like you said, from the teachers to the students to the parents, I can almost see that chain, and the excitement that builds, and then from that school to the next school, and showing the power and the benefits of eating healthier, both from a health perspective and really just from an overall community perspective, that people feel like they're helping others, of course. And when you can eliminate type 2 diabetes, and we've seen this happen within 30 to 60 days, depending on how involved they are with the program, it really is something that we can show results quickly,
Mm-hmm.
and create some press around that in a community to promote the program, and to, as we said, feature these schools as those powerhouses of spreading the message.
Yeah, that's a very important point you just noted, Ron. And that is the ability to leverage what's happening in the schools to get that wider community attention, including the attention of the press. Schools are incredible magnets for local media. So doing something innovative in a school system is a surefire way of getting that kind of media coverage to help spread the message in the rest of the community. And one other point I want to make here is this is a critical issue for our young people, not just because it's affecting their health in the here and now, and also affecting patterns of behavior that can extend through a lifetime. But also, and this is an unknown side of this story, what we eat has a tremendous impact in some cases on behavior. There's a lot of, according to my father, a lot of good evidence now that a lot of the sort of hyperactivity disorders that we see out there, and for some reason they seem to be on the rise, are exacerbated by poor nutrition and food allergies. The food that we eat not only affects our cholesterol, our glucose levels, and those sorts of things, but can also affect our behavior and our psychology, our alertness, our energy. All of these things feed into the ability of kids to be successful in school. So when we're feeding them junk, and sometimes, not in all cases, some kids don't have some of these challenges. But for many of the kids, we're setting them up for difficulties and sometimes even failure by feeding them junk.
So the question is for teachers, the students are being told to eat better and the power of that, and yet they're seeing their teachers not necessarily having the best habits themselves that could.
Yeah. Again, you're getting back to the sort of the role modeling idea, which is very, very important. And there's one other thing I should mention as well that I think is equally important in affecting kids. And I learned this from my wife, Kim, who prior to her work in PlantPure had been a teacher in the public schools. And I don't know, maybe she taught over a span of, I think it was close to 20 years. So she's had a lot of experience working with kids. And one of the strategies that's very effective in helping kids understand this and change what they eat is to actually engage them in the process. Get them involved in the shopping, get them involved in the cutting and the chopping and the cooking. And if you get them involved and they have ownership in it, they're a whole lot more likely to open up to it. Kids are very experiential. They love projects. They love being involved. And this is something that Kim has said a lot. And so this is an important idea as well. And I know that some of the efforts that have been successful in the past have really been based on that idea. There's another person who is a former grad student of my father, Antonia Demas. I think her website may be Food Studies Institute or something. She's in upstate New York, Antonia Demas, that's Demas. And she's done work across the country with various school systems. And that's been her approach, is to make this experiential.
Thank you so much, Nelson. I really appreciate your time, with us. And before we go, though, where do you see PlantPure now moving forward, for, let's say, the next year or 2 years?
Yeah, so right now we're very focused, as you know, on the very near-term objective of getting our organization to financial sustainability. And so we're very focused on several market channels. We have an online business. We also are working with Amazon as part of that online business. And of course, you're engaged in some other initiatives through our website at PlantPure Nation. We have the employer wellness program. We're also talking to brick and mortar retailers and a few other things. So we're very focused now on just the nuts and bolts of getting ourselves to financial sustainability. But longer term, we want to take a more holistic, community-based approach. So we're sort of behind the scenes here. We're working on a model that we'll probably call our PlantPure Cities program, where we can come into a community and we can help support campaigns, community-wide health campaigns around this idea of plant-based nutrition. And we're even developing a social network, a web-based social network to help support the organization and the execution of those campaigns. And as we do that, we will rely heavily, of course, on local partners like city governments, like school systems, employers, the faith-based community, and so forth, to help launch and execute these campaigns. But that's a very exciting idea to me, the idea of engaging an entire community around this idea, because I think, Ron, that this is what it's going to take to make rapid change. You know, we don't want this to take 200 years. We're about making this happen now. And the way that we're going to do that, the way we're going to get this into the mainstream, is by taking a more holistic community-based approach. It's not enough just to put a product on a store shelf. Yes, that's good. That's great. We want as many products on store shelves as possible, and we're seeing more and more of that. But to make the kind of massive transformational change that we're seeking, it's going to take a more holistic community-based approach. So long-term for PlantPure, that's the direction that we're going to be moving in. And then, of course, as we do that, I should point out as well that we have some ideas for how we can utilize profits from PlantPure to support some larger philanthropic strategies. We're really about trying to create an economic engine to help power this grassroots movement, or at least to help contribute to this grassroots movement. It's really the larger social mission that motivates us.
Going mainstream really is the effort. Everything we're doing right now is about trying to bring plant-based nutrition and the benefits into the mainstream eye. Mm-hmm. And school systems are a very key part of that. Yes. So I'm extremely excited. The workplace, as you said, but taking into the retail stores. So it's on there to compete with those other products that we know are marketing to kids all the time.
Yeah. I mean, all this stuff we've talked about here today, you know it well. You're part of the team. And actually, that's what's exciting about what we do, is coming together with people like you and the others on the team. It's been the greatest joy for me in this process. When you talk about PlantPure, it's actually being able to connect with people who are so passionate about this idea, who are so committed to wanting to help, do something really good through this idea. And that's what's enabled us, I think, to get through the tough times, is just having each other to lean on.
Well, we definitely are a passionate group.
Yes.
We've seen that. But that's the beauty, is we've seen that we're not the only ones, that we've seen people in the communities. And as I mentioned, with the teachers and even students coming up saying, how do I bring this to my school? Of course, we've seen it a lot with the college students, but we've seen it with a number of other programs now that we're featuring here in the summit. So we know that it's really propagating this message. It's getting out there. And as you said, this grassroots movement is really starting. When I say grassroots, I'm talking from kids. Talking about this. So it's a very exciting time, and I'm hoping more people who are listening to this jump on as well. So where can they jump on? What website do you? I know we have a couple websites. Which ones would you like to share?
Well, first and foremost, I always encourage people to, if they haven't seen our film, to go to Netflix and watch PlantPure Nation. You can also access it on Amazon and iTunes. That's important because that shows the social intent, the science behind this, the trajectory that we're on, what we're all about. Then there's PlantPure Nation as well, and you can go there and you can get additional information. And then you can also, through that, you can access information on the corporate wellness program. I think that actually for your audience, I strongly recommend that people check that out because, again, as we've discussed today, I think there will be no more effective way of making change within a school system than by using the power of economics and money to engage the entire school community around this idea. Again, I think we can save school systems millions of dollars and reduced healthcare costs. And that argument, gives us the ability then to build a critical mass of support within school systems for creating the kind of creative solutions that will be required to bring this to kids.
So plantpurenation.com is the main website for us. People can visit. Another website that for people that are thinking about bringing this to their school, to the employees, would be PlantPure Wellness.
Yes.
And for the community efforts, people want to learn, it's plantpurecommunities.org. For people to learn.
Well, plantpurecommunities.org is, of course, is our nonprofit arm, and they're very focused on a number of things, but including especially the OASIS initiative, which is an initiative to develop and test and validate strategies for getting this information and affordable food into low-income communities. This larger vision of a kind of a PlantPure Cities program, this holistic community model I was just talking about, that of course is in development. So we don't have a particular website that speaks to that yet, but I would just say to stay tuned.
And visit PlantPure Nation. They can ask for it in PlantPure Nation.
Yeah. Yes, and importantly, people should go to plantpurenation.com and sign up for our newsletter, because every 2 weeks, unless we're really busy and we miss a newsletter cycle, we send out a newsletter, and so that is the best way of staying updated on what we're doing, is the newsletter.
Well, thank you so much, Nelson, for being part of this Healthy School Food Summit and for really helping us to promote the summit in general, to be a part of this and sponsoring the summit.
Well, thanks, Ron, for all you do, and thanks for your work on this particular project. This is extremely important.
Well, we both have kids. You have how many kids?
3, and they're all adults now. So they're
and I have 5 kids and 1 grandchild and 1 on the way.
Yeah.
So this is very close to our hearts. This is why you can see the passion that we both have in supporting this for the future. So thank you so much. And again, thank you so much for the audience for tuning in to the Healthy School Food Summit. If you want to learn more about the Coalition for Healthy School Food and what it does to support efforts like this and bringing healthy food options to school kids and to their parents as well, then visit their website, healthyschoolfood.org. Again, healthyschoolfood.org for more information. And of course, PlantPure is one of the hosts, the sponsors for the summit as well. You can visit plantpurenation.com.